So, I wasn't like super cool as a kid. I didn't have like a lot of friends. I had a lot of spare time though, so that was good because it meant I had a lot of time to draw, which I did. I drew people's faces, animals. My dad has a joke about how when I was a baby I liked to push crumbs around in my high chair to make pictures out of them. And so yeah, I've always been drawing. And then when I went to university, I wasn't stoned, I promise. I of course studied psychology. I don't know why I decided that psychology is what I needed to study, but I did that. I also took I had an extended minor in visual arts, and I think I thought I was going to be like an art therapist, or I don't know. But when I graduated, I decided to work with adults with developmental disabilities and children with autism, and I thought, you know, okay, I'm doing my thing, this is what I'm going to do. And then sometimes like on the weekends and like after work when I wasn't too tired, I would still draw and paint. And I was kind of all over the place. Didn't really know what I was doing, didn't really have a chance to show much. The one thing that I did consistently was submit images to Chris Benson's Hot 1-Inch Action button show. So that was my thing that I did for several years to feel like I was like, okay, I'm participating, I'm doing something, I'm present as an artist. And that kind of tied me over for a while, but then Chris Benson came over one day with all of his video equipment, and he did a video interview of me, which he did for a lot of Vancouver artists. But when I saw the video, and when he was asking me all those questions, I sort of felt like an imposter. Like, I saw this video and he was taking me so seriously, and I sounded like I was serious, but I wasn't, or I didn't feel like I was. Like, I felt like the person in this video wasn't me, and that it wasn't representing me, and I felt horrible about it because that's the person I wanted to be. But the thing I realized, like when I was sending in the images to Chris, and when I was actually stepping back outside of myself to look at who this person was in the video, I realized I actually maybe was an artist, that I actually was worthy of whatever it was that this video made me look like. And it made me sort of kind of rethink things. And these are two images I chose to use because I like to paint cats and I like to paint anthropomorphic animals. But these are images that when I painted them, I realized like, okay, maybe I could be a painter after all. So a little bit of a sidestep. This is my mom, and she was about, well, it's my family, but particularly my mom in this picture. She was the age in this picture that I was at that time. And she was only a few short years away from receiving her a diagnosis of cancer, which is the illness that eventually took her life. And so me kind of thinking like, what would happen if I went to the doctor? Because as a daughter of a mom with cancer, I thought like, what would happen if I found out I had cancer? Like, how would I feel about how I'd live my life, or what I was doing so far? And so I quit my job and decided that I wanted to spend a year painting. And this is my inspiration that I started with. I really like vintage storybooks and creepy dolls, and I try to create art that is creepy and cute and appealing, but slightly off-putting, as a way of telling my story. And so, Chris Benson opened an art gallery, and one of my goals when I quit my job is I wanted to do a solo show. I wanted to have all my work out there. So actually, just a year later, he opened a gallery, and I thanked him by filling it with creepy doll faces, including this one. And this is just to show you for scale. We hung it in the window of his gallery, and I don't know, I think it was pretty hilarious. So, I don't know, he seemed a little creeped out by it, but then he let me continue to show work in his gallery. So that first show was called Dolly, and after that I had 4 more solo shows at Hot Art Wet City. And these are a couple of the images that I showed. Again, I like to use like storybook settings. The one on the left is an oil painting, and the one on the right is scratchboard. So scratchboard is, for those of you who don't know, a process, it's an illustrative process where I'm using a scratch pen to scratch ink away from a clay-coated surface. So aside from that, I also like to make money, and I live in an expensive city. So I also make animal magnets. So around the time that I quit my job to start showing painting more, I started making these magnets. So they're, which I'll cut by hand. I don't recommend it. It takes a lot of time. And this is me at one of the markets that I do. I also inspired my husband to quit his job as well. And I don't know what we're thinking. But he started screen printing, and it just so happens that, screen printing is a really great, it translates, my scratchboard illustrations translate really well to screen printing. So I sell my shirts and children's clothes in Vancouver as well. And the two things together have helped me to get by in the city. So I think, yeah. And then after that, or like the last year, Chris Benson had to close his gallery. So I had one last show there, which I named Toy Babies. And I thought, again, to thank him and to show my gratitude for all the years of work, I'd fill his gallery once again with doll heads. This time I gave him 2 giant doll heads to hang in the window. And I think he was kind of into it. I don't know. I don't know why he kept getting me to come back. But yeah, so I did that. Was my last show at Hot Wood City. And then at the same time, actually about 3 or 4 weeks later, the final show at the gallery was Bad People, Portraits of the Punishable, a group show by the Phantoms in the Front Yard Art Collective, curated by Penny Lane Shen. And they invited me to create work, and I was terrified. And I don't know, I think I pulled it off. These are the pieces that I did for the show. And from that point on, that was March of last year. And I was really excited for where my career was going and what I was going to be doing next. And then that happened. That wasn't planned. So somewhere, actually, I think that's what I get for planning a show called Toy Babies. I actually found out 2 weeks before the opening that this was happening. It was kind of on my bucket list of things I might want to try, but I'd kind of passed the age I was intending on doing it, and I didn't really know how to work that into my current life. So let's just say it's been a busy year. So my son Norman was born last year in August, so he's almost a year old. And yeah, it's been a busy year. I have a show up at Reach Gallery in Abbotsford. I've been doing markets. I did Culture Call. I think when Norman was 2 months old, I went to my studio, and like around 6 weeks, until 6 weeks, you're really not supposed to do much, but like at 2 months, I went to my studio and I was madly organizing it so I could do Culture Call. I was doing Christmas markets like crazy. It's been a pretty crazy year. So then Mural Fest came up, and knowing that I'd be participating in that, I was a little bit intimidated. So I'm participating as a member. This is Norman holding Norman, but of course I had to include him on the wall. So the Phantoms in the Front Yard is doing a mural together. So this is part of the mural that we've started, and of course included these guys. But yeah, I'm really excited for the opportunity to work on a wall for Mural Fest, because it's something that I've always kind of wanted to do, but I'm a little bit terrified of. And so being able to do it as a group with 7 members, it kind of takes the weight off my shoulders while I can still try it out. And who knows, like maybe next year I might try to apply for like a giant doll head on a wall. We'll see. Yeah, I guess I just want to leave off. I'm really glad with the direction I've chosen in my life. I think so now I've passed the age that my mom was when she got that diagnosis, and I think about my life now, and I'm happy with the direction. I think I was on the wrong path, and I'm happy in the direction I'm going. It's been interesting now having sort of this wrench thrown in the gears, having a son, but also kind of reinventing myself as a mom and as an artist and as a female, and seeing what that means. So far, I seem to think it means I'm Superman and that there's 100 hours in the day, so I think I need to strike more of a balance, but I'm excited to see what the future brings for me, so that's it.